So, with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Nicole. Woo! Damn. Just need a moment. I'm just going to say the serenity prayer real quick, and I'm just going to soak this moment up because this is God right now. I'm just taking it in for a minute. All right. My name is Nicole, and I'm a very, very grateful marijuana addict. Hi, family. I wanted, before I even talk about my experience, just express my sincerest gratitude to all of you. You know, first of all, to be able to plan this amazing convention, it takes so much work, I can't even imagine, and I have so much sincere appreciation for the fellows who have done this for us to be in this space, so I just need to give them a shout. I also want to thank District 2 because that is how I first came to the rooms, and also my Stoners of Color family, remotely and in person, wherever you are. That fellowship has been instrumental in my recovery as well. So, yeah, you know, it's just for today. And I was reflecting because I came into the rooms. This is actually my second convention. The first convention I went to was in 2016 at Walnut Creek. And I came back to the rooms after relapsing and just being desperate and hopeless and angry and pissed off. Like, damn, why do I have to be an addict? Why can't I just be normal? Why am I here? And people in these rooms opened their arms and their hearts out to me. And even though I was like, these people are crazy, and now to be up here and to give my experience, strength, and hope is a testament to this program. I'm telling y'all, it really is. You know? Thanks. And it's really just for today. It's just one day at a time. But by the grace of God, today I have 3,165 days with this. Which is 8 years, 7 months, and 30 days. But that really is one day at a time. And I will say part of my story is cross-addiction. I'm not only a marijuana addict, I'm a food addict. I might not look at it, but I used to be 240 pounds. And after I gave up smoking weed, I was eating flour and sugar and drinking. And so I had to work through that program too. And by the grace of God, today I am completely clean and sober. But as part of my journey, cross-addiction is part of it. I also identify as a survivor of domestic violence, and the women in my family are survivors, and so my story is part of that too. And I used weed basically because I wanted to numb pain, because I just didn't want to feel the feelings, right? And I'm originally from South Bronx, New York City. And yeah, we got some Bronx people, got some New Yorkers, okay? Okay, yes. And I was raised by strong, beautiful, resilient Black women. My mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother. And part of my use came up much later in life because I always had this fear, doubt, and insecurity that I was never good enough. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't good enough. I didn't value myself. I didn't love myself. And there were folks in my family who strived for excellence. And growing up in the South Bronx, there was beautiful things about it, but a lot of the reality was economic disparity. And then folks trying to get out and make something better for themselves. So I had family members that were doing that, and I would tell myself, oh, I gotta be just like them. Am I good enough to do it? And so I also grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. And so I grew up in a very religious household with the duality and the juxtaposition of being of faith, but then growing up and seeing and hearing stories about my mother being abused once she got married to my former stepfather. And she's amazing, and I didn't even know she was physically abused, but I learned later on of the abuse that she endured. And I learned of the stories of my grandmother and my aunties and other family members who were enduring abuse. And as I got older, I used I used because of that trauma. And I also endured abuse too. I'm a survivor of sexual assault. And so I had to, I've worked through that trauma and I continue to work through it today because of recovery. But at one point in time, I was using to suppress that pain. And so really, I smoked maybe once or twice when I was in high school because of a friend in high school, and I wanted to fit in, I wanted to be cool. But it wasn't really until I got to college where I started smoking. I ended up going to Cornell, and I got to go to Cornell because of a program called COSEP, which was basically for minority students and from inner city communities or who may not have had accessibility, and giving an opportunity to do that. And so in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, I'm not good enough to be here. I don't deserve to be here. Or, am I just here by luck? And so I would use based on like getting freebies from other people. I would mooch off of other people because I was too scared to get it on my own. And so if someone else could give it to me, I would do whatever I could to get high from them, right? And so that continued, and I thought, okay, I don't have a problem because I'm not getting caught. I'm still here. I'm doing all right with my grades, so I don't have a problem. So we're good. And then I graduated, and I still didn't think I had a problem, but I would get into very dangerous, crazy behavior. Like I would just go to any lengths to get high. I remember like when I was studying abroad, the last thing I cared about was getting arrested. I just would meet random men, and because I was feeling insecure about myself, and if they had weed, I would have weed with them. I would hook up with them. I didn't care. I was just like, I need to get high right now. And I continued that behavior. And part of my usage was that fear, doubt, and insecurity that I don't belong, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, and that liar in my head that was feeding with the weed and just making it worse. I don't know if y'all been through it, but the paranoia in my head telling me you ain't good enough, you ain't nothing, like you need this weed to feel better. And I would use drinks too, and I would have sex, and I would just eat, and all of the addiction. And so, rewind, I got back home to New York, and I did some risky ass behavior. Like I remember my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, I was just fixated on getting high, and we was calling the dealer nonstop. And eventually the dealer came at like 1 a.m, and I was telling my husband like, okay, you need to go downstairs and get it. And he's like, no, I ain't going. And so I went in my muumuu dress at like 1 a.m, got into some random dude's car, didn't know who this person was, just to get high. Who's to say that person wasn't gonna like attack me, sexually assault me? Just the lengths I would go to just be like, yes, now I got my fix. This is all I need. I'm good. And eventually, my mother, who again is amazing and resilient, she was in an abusive marriage for a number of years, to the point where my stepfather almost killed her. And so there was a moment where I found out about it, and she told me, and she had an escape plan, and I went with her to like a domestic violence agency where she wrote out her restraining order. I went with her to court when she got her restraining order. And I decided at that point, I already knew that I wanted to do something around social justice. I knew that I wanted to work with survivors because of the challenges I saw them navigate, and hearing the stories from my mother and my aunties. And so I applied to law school and social work school at the same time. Mind you, I'm still in like my active addiction, and I'm still using, and I didn't care. And eventually I had the opportunity to go to law school, and I got a full ride to go to law school. I went to Northeastern in Boston, and I was just like, again, that fear, doubt, and insecurity, because out of that class, there was 4 of us that got a full scholarship. I was the only Black woman who got one. And so, it's a privilege to be able to go to any type of higher education, let alone law school. But in my mind, I'm like, do I deserve to be here? Am I good enough? Am I like, what the hell is happening here? And again, like in Boston, the weed, there wasn't like no dispensaries back then. So like, so I was, going to any lengths, right? And I still remember, it's still in my mind, like I had a classmate, and I was like, do you have weed? Because I really could use some right now. Bet you want to meet me in the common area? Let's do this. Like, look, how ironic is it to be in law school and like get your weed in the damn school, right? Like, but that's the lengths I went to, right? This disease is insidious. It's just like, what does they say? They say it's like it's doing push-ups in the parking lot. You know what I'm saying? And so it didn't get any better. It got worse. And so I love like being out here, but coming to the Bay Area, my weed addiction use got much worse. Because at that point, there was like the medicinal weed, and my husband, he has a speech impediment, he has a stutter. So when we moved out here to the Bay, I remember I just mooched off of him. He had his marijuana cards. I'm like, bet, this is gonna be great. I'm new to the Bay. I don't have to worry about weed. And then I didn't have a job, and so I had to study for the bar exam. And for folks who don't know, it is a nightmare. It is literally like a full-time job if you even have the privilege not to have to worry about working to study full-time. So basically, it was like 9 to 5 study, and then in the evenings I would study as well. And so I took the bar 3 times. The first 2 times I was in my active use. I was smoking, and I would, you know how it's said in like step 1 with like the Life with Hope book, you make bargains with yourself. So I tell myself, oh, okay, I studied all day, so I deserve a treat, right? It's Saturday, so it's okay. And then Saturday turned into Wednesday. Like I was like, oh, we're gonna do it on the weekends. Nope, it turned into like Tuesday, you know what I mean? And then not only was I smoking, but I was also eating. I would be like going to the cafes to study and stuff my face with flour and sugar during the daytime, and then at night when I got home, in complete isolation by myself, a complete like fog. And that was what led me to come to the rooms for the first time. When I failed the bar the second time, I was like, okay, my therapist told me about MA. And I was like, this lady's crazy. I don't know what she's talking about. I don't have a problem. All I need to do is just not smoke for like the next 3 or 4 months, take this bar exam, and then I'm out. And so that's what led me to MA. It wasn't really like, oh, I have a problem and like I'm an addict. It was more of like, okay, I got like to get this done, and then I'm gonna be cured, and then we are good to go. And so I went to the meetings, but I was really half-assing it, truthfully. It was more of like, okay, no alcohol for a little bit, no weed. Okay, I seem to be focusing and concentrating. And I eventually passed the bar, right? And I'm like, okay, I finally got my license. Bye. Like, I was like, I don't need this anymore. Like, I'm cured. And I left. And it got worse. It got worse. And I had my first legal aid job. I'm going to say that at Bay Area Legal Aid. And it was my first attorney job as an economic justice attorney, focusing on working with CalWorks recipients who were disputing the county for their benefits. And I was it's only 5 minutes? Damn, I thought I had longer. Okay, I gotta go faster. But long story short, it was an active addiction. I had suicidal ideations. I was even in my kitchen contemplating suicide, putting a scarf around my neck and pulling it by myself. And then I had an opportunity to have a job at Family Violence Law Center where I interned, and they were like, and that opportunity presented itself of like, okay, let me just try if I don't smoke again and see what happens. And so I came back into the rooms January 1st of 2016, and I haven't smoked weed since. And it's a miracle. I thought I had more time, so I'm gonna speed it up, but give you the fast forward edition. But I still was an active cross addiction with the flour and sugar, right? So it took me, now I'm clean from alcohol 4.5 years, now flour and sugar about like 3.5 years. And there have been, thank you, and there have been so many miracles that have come about because of recovery. And life just keeps happening, right? Life doesn't stop. Life is lifing. During the pandemic, I had the miracle of being part of the Stoners of Color Fellowship. That has been instrumental. I know, like, part of the traditions is this thought of like no outside issues, but being a person of color, especially during the pandemic, when you see in Black and brown people being killed, and you have to have a space to be able to talk about it as a mother of a Black child who's also mixed and being scared about my child getting shot, there was a space to be able to talk about that in recovery. And so the Stoners of Color Fellowship has been very instrumental in my recovery, and we actually had our first hybrid meeting today through the convention. It's a miracle. I've also navigated death and pain. I've lost my Nana. My Nana, I'm wearing like my necklace that says Nana because she was instrumental in me wanting to be clean and sober. And I navigated her transition being completely clean and sober. And that was 3 years ago. My uncle Abar, who passed away, like he died from cancer. And I do remember the moment where he wouldn't eat anything, and the only thing he could eat was an edible. And then he felt bad to ask me, and I was like, I got you, Uncle Abar, I'll take care of it for you. And I didn't even have to eat it, think about it, want it. I have a son who's on the spectrum, Jordan, and navigating that as a mom with a child on the spectrum has been a miracle to be able to identify and learn and grow. And you know how I just said, like, I went to Bay Area Legal Aid as my first job and I fucked up royally. I basically quit before they fired me. I actually started my new job there a month ago as a senior staff attorney, and they're in their interpersonal violence prevention unit. And before that, I was a managing attorney at Family Violence Law Center, that same place that I went to when I got clean from January 1st of 2016. I ended up working there and working my way up to manage the legal department for that agency. So I'm not just saying all these things for like accolades. I'm saying it because this program works. It is real. It is a miracle every day, and I'm especially thinking about the newcomers because I've been there. I remember that. And let us love you until you love yourself. Stick around because these miracles, man, I'm telling you, they're real. They're here, and I think that's pretty much it. You gave me 5 minutes, right? So that's it.